All right, hello YouTube and students, future truck drivers. We're coming to you live once again. Today we're going to be inspecting a Freightliner Cascadia, a 2024 model. Um, what we would like to do is show you how to use your checklist in pre-tripping your truck. And we want to start out on the inside, but before we start on the inside, we want to show you how to properly get into the truck. And that's by using 3 points of contact. First thing you want to do, whatever's in your hand, you want to put it down or put it on the seat. And you want to get in the truck using 3 points of contact. 3 points of contact is basically 2 hands and a foot, or 2 feet and a hand on the vehicle at all times. So while going up the truck, just make sure that you're holding on to something all the way in. The first thing you want to do when you get inside the vehicle, always put on your seatbelt, check to make sure it's latching and unlatching, and then you'll do a safe start. Doing a safe start, you're basically making sure that the truck brakes in the lock position and the truck is in neutral, and you start the vehicle. Turn the key, let the gauges cycle, and start it. All right, that's just letting us know that our stereo system is working. While we're waiting for the air pressure to build up, the first thing we're gonna be doing is to check our cutout pressure. Our cutout pressure should happen between 120 to 140. On this particular truck, let's see where it cuts out. You can idle your truck up just a little bit. It helps the compressor build pressure just a little bit faster. We're waiting on our cutout pressure. All right, I just heard the cutout. My cutout pressure was 130. The next thing I want to do is turn my vehicle off. When I turn the vehicle off, I keep my hand on the key and then I turn the key back into the on position. All right, to make sure the gauges are working. And then I'll push in both valves. I wait until the sizzle stops and then I can start my second step of my brake test. All right, the second step of the brake test is to make sure that I don't lose no more than 4 psi in 1 minute. And I'll do that by applying pressure on the brake. When I apply pressure on the brake, I ask the examiner to time me. All right, I'm going to apply pressure. Can you time me? Good. You're going to just hold your foot on the brake for a minute until the examiner tells you that your time is up. Okay, my time is up. I did not lose any more than 4 psi in 1 minute. So the next thing I'm going to be checking. The next thing I'm checking, which is my step 3, I'm going to be making sure that I get an alarm or a buzzer letting me know that my low pressure warning is working properly. All right, and I'll do that by pumping down the brakes. Pumping the brakes down, I should get that warning before 55 psi. Oh, I did. I got the warning. Brake air supply low pressure warning came on before 55. All right, now that that's checked, the next thing I want to do, and that's my 4th step of the brake test, is I want to continue pumping the brakes down and both of my knobs should pop out. You want to make sure you don't touch these knobs. You just pump the brake until both of them pop out. And they should pop out between 20 and 45 psi. You got to be watching your gauges, watching your knobs. One knob. All right, they both popped out between 20 and 45 psi. All right, now that that's done, that's the first 4 steps of the brake test. Now we'll restart the vehicle. Restarting the vehicle, we're going to be testing each brake independent. We're going to be testing the tractor brake, we're going to be testing the trailer brake, and we're going to also be testing the service brake. While my truck is running, I'm going to check off my list of the thing that I have checked so far. The first 4 steps of the brake test was in this first box. All right, up next we have the parking trailer brake check and the service brake check. I'll give it a little gas to build my pressure up a little bit faster. In another video, you may have seen that I go ahead on and do the end cap while I'm doing this, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna do it just like the checklist is, so that it'll be easy to follow. If you're comfortable at this time while you're waiting on this pressure to build up, you can go ahead on and do the rest of your end cap. But if you're not so sure about yourself, just follow the checklist as it follows. All right, now that my pressure is built all the way back up to 120 to 140, I want to go ahead on and test my tractor brake. In order to test my tractor brake, I have to release the trailer brake. Remember this, tractor is yellow, trailer is red. All right, I want to test the tractor, so I'll release the trailer. Push in my red, put the truck in drive, and try to pull up gently. All right. My truck didn't move. That lets me know that my tractor brake is working properly. Now I want to test my trailer brake. In order to test the trailer, I must release the tractor. Put it in drive, pull up gently. Truck didn't move. That lets me know that my tractor brake is working properly. Trailer brake is working properly, I'm sorry. All right, now I'm gonna release both of them to make sure that the service brakes is working properly. The service brake is your foot brake. We'll pull forward 5 miles per hour. And use the service brake. Okay, my service brakes are working properly. And I'll check off my list. Parking and trailer brake check, service brake check. All right, now I'm gonna start with my lighting indicators. Lighting indicators, I'll turn my headlights on and I'll check my dash for my indicators. Left signal light indicator is working properly. Right signal light indicator is working properly. Hazard flashes are working properly. Also my high beams, I'll click it, make sure the high beams are working properly. All right. All right, right here I see I have emergency equipment. On some trucks, the fire extinguisher is inside of the truck, and on some trucks they're in the side box. For the purpose of this video, all of my emergency equipment is in the side box, so I'll leave that blank for now. But we'll start back with the windshield. I'll check my windshield and traffic monitoring devices. Okay, my windshield is properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked or broken. It's free of any illegal stickers. And my traffic monitoring devices is my mirrors. I'll check both mirrors, make sure that they're clean and clear, and they're properly adjusted for me. Then I want to check my wipers and washers. I want to check my wipers and the washer fluid. All right. And they are working properly. I'm making sure that my wiper blades are pressing firmly against the windshield and they have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. Then I want to check my heater and defrost. Over here on this control panel, I'll turn my fan on and check my heater. Make sure that the heater is working on the floor and the vents. Also, I'll go to the defrost and make sure that the defrost is working against the windshield. And it is. Then I want to check my horns. I want to check my city horn. I want to check my highway horn. All right. And now that all that is checked, you can see that all of my top boxes checked except my emergency equipment. I would ask the examiner to step out and help me to check my external lights. Would you step out, please? All right. Then they would walk around and check the back. All right, after you do the light check, then you want to come outside and you want to start on the outside portion of your checklist. Go ahead on and check off the exterior lights. First thing you want to check on the front of the vehicle are the lenses. You will check all your lenses, your headlights and your clearance lamps. Make sure they're all properly mounted and secured, that they're clean and clear, and they're the proper color. And check that off your list. Then you would open the hood. When opening the hood, you want to make sure that you get a firm grip and find somewhere to put your foot and use your legs to push against the frame to open the hood. All right, following my checklist, I want to check the fluid levels. The fluid levels that we're going to be checking are the critical fluids. Those critical fluids are coolant, engine oil, and power steering fluid. All right. Coolant reservoir is properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's filled to the proper level between add and full with the caps on tight, and is also not leaking. Then you want to check the engine oil. In order to check the engine oil, you would remove the dipstick. You just tell them what you're doing. I would remove my dipstick and make sure that the engine oil level is between add and full. And you also want to check to see that the fill cap is on tight. On the power steering fluid, you want to check the reservoir. Make sure that it's properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's also not leaking. The fluid level is between add and full, and the caps are on tight. And you check that off. Then we're looking for fluid and air leaks. Fluid and air leaks, that means we're going to be looking on the ground. We want to make sure that there are no leaks and puddles underneath the vehicle. And we want to listen in and see, do we hear any air leaks? All right, I don't have any fluid leaks and I don't have any air leaks. Then we want to check our steering system. The steering system starts with our steering rod right here, and you want to make sure that it's properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not missing any hardware. Then you would check our steering box. The steering box is properly mounted and secured to the frame. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's not leaking. Then I would check all of my links and connectors. All of my links and connectors, also known as the steering linkage, is properly monitored and secured. They're not cracked, bent, or broken, with the castle nut in place and also the cotter pins. Then you want to make sure that they're properly greased and check that off. Then we'll go into the steering axle. The steering axle, I want to start off with my tires. I want to check the inner and outer side of my tires and make sure that there are no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. Also, I want to check to see that my tires are wearing evenly and that I have at least 430 seconds of tread depth. These tires can never be recaps on the front of the vehicle. Then I want to check my rim. I check my rims and make sure that they're properly monitored and secured. They're not cracked, bent, or broken, and they're not leaking any air. I would also check my lug nuts. I would make sure that all of my lug nuts are properly monitored and secured. None are missing, and they show no sign of looseness. Then I would check my valve stem. Checking my valve stem, I would check to make sure that it's properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's also not leaking. And I also would check it with a tire gauge. Checking it with a tire gauge, I want to make sure I have at least 100 psi of air pressure. And then I check it off. Tires, rims, lugs. All right, coming on in, we're going to move back into the suspension system. On my suspension system, I want to check my spring mounts. I want to come in here and check my spring mounts in here. Make sure that they're properly monitored and secured. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. Then I would also check my leaf springs. My leaf springs, I want to make sure they're properly monitored and secured. They're not cracked, bent, or broken, and they're not scissored. If they were scissored, they would be shifted of some sort. And then you want to make sure that you check your shock absorber. Shock absorber is properly monitored and secured on the top and the bottom, and it's not leaking any fluid. Then you check that off. Then I'm checking my brake lines and my hoses, and I'm also checking those for leaks. My brake line is properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It also has no abrasion, bulges, or cuts, and I don't hear any air leaking from it. All right. Then we're going to check the inside of the wheel, which is where the brake drum and the brake pads are, and we want to make sure that we have no contaminants. If we had contaminants, that would mean we had a leaking wheel seal. So we want to make sure that our brake drum and our brake pads have no contaminants, such as oil and grease. All right. That will take care of my under the hood area. Now I'll move on to the side of the vehicle. I'll close my hood. Okay, moving on to the side of the vehicle. I have lens and reflectors. My lenses and reflectors, okay? We're going to be talking about this lens here, which is properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's the proper color, which is amber. We're checking the lens and reflectors on the whole side of the vehicle. All right, we're looking up top, checking our clearance lamp up here. We're checking our midway flasher light right here on the trailer. And also looking toward the rear of the trailer, making sure that all the lenses and reflectors are properly monitored and secured. Then we would check our traffic monitoring devices from the outside, which is our mirrors. And we're basically making sure that our bracket is properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. And also our mirror is not cracked, bent, or broken. Then we would check our battery box and our battery connections. We'll look in here and tell them that all my batteries are secured, all my lines and wires are connected tight, and there's no corrosion on my batteries. This truck is equipped with fuel and DEF. Our DEF tank is properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not leaking. You want to make sure that the cap is tight on the def tank. Also, our fuel tank. Want to make sure that it's properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's not leaking as well. We want to make sure that the cap is also tight. All right. Now we want to check our frames. At this point, guys, you want to check the frame of the tractor, the trailer, and the tandem frame. So this is how we do it. Checking my frame. I want to make sure that my frame is properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and there's no illegal holes in it and no illegal welds. And then I'll move down to the trailer frame. Checking my trailer frame. I want to stoop down and make sure that my trailer frame is properly monitored and secured. Also, my cross members are properly monitored and secured. They have no illegal welds and there's no cracks in it. Then I will move down to my tandem frame. All right, checking my tandem frame. This is a sliding tandem frame. So you want to make sure that the sliding tandem lock pins are in the proper lock position. My tandem frame is properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and it has no illegal welds. And that will take care of your frame. Moving back up to what makes this vehicle a combination vehicle. Now I'm going to be talking about my air lines and electrical cords. My air lines are all properly monitored and secured to the back of the tractor, also to the front of the trailer. My air lines are properly monitored and secured with no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. They are not leaking any air. Also, my electric cord is properly monitored and secured to the tractor and the trailer. My electric cord is hanging at the proper height as well as my air lines, and there are no exposed wires. Then I want to talk about the glad hands. My glad hands are properly monitored and secure with the seals in place, and they're also not leaking air. Then I will move on to my fifth wheel skid plate. My fifth wheel skid plate, which is here, fifth wheel skid plate is properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's properly greased. All right, check that off. Then I'm going to go underneath the truck and talk about the kingpin, the apron, and the gap. All right, we want to check our kingpin, apron, and gap. In order to check the kingpin, you would look down in here, and you see that kingpin is here. It's properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked or broken. And it's also not overly worn. And you see that bar that goes across it? That's the locking jaw. You want to also make sure that the locking jaw is in the lock position. And when you're talking about the gap, you want to make sure there's no gap between the apron of the trailer and the skid plate. So you want to make sure there's no daylight in between here. All right? My locking and safety device. This right here is called my release arm, and it's in the proper lock position. And my safety device is my safety lock pin, which is here, and it's also in the lock position with the cotter pin in place. This particular fifth wheel is a sliding fifth wheel, so like always, anything that slide, you want to make sure is in the proper lock position. Then I want to come back and check my landing gear. Checking my landing gear, I want to make sure that my fifth wheel is in the proper position so that I can have turns where my mud flap and my landing gear won't touch each other. All right. Then I want to check the landing gear and make sure that the crank handle is properly stowed away. And I also want to make sure that the landing gear legs are fully raised. I'll make sure that the whole landing gear is properly monitored and secured. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. Then I will check my reflective tape. Make sure I got reflective tape at least 50% of the trailer. And then I will go to the rear of the trailer and check my lenses and reflectors. Checking my lenses and reflectors. I would make sure that they're all properly monitored and secured, and they are the proper color, which is red. I would also make sure that my reflective tape is 100% across the rear of the truck. All right, guys, if you look at this whole list, I did this on purpose. I just want you to see. We checked off everything except one thing. What did we miss? emergency equipment. All right? Before you say you're done, you take them back and you show them that emergency equipment. I open my side box, and inside I have my emergency equipment. My emergency equipment consists of 3 reflective triangles. 1, 2, 3. I have a fire extinguisher that's properly mounted and secured and is fully charged. And I also have at least 6 spare fuses. And the purpose for the fuses is in case I have a fuse that blows on my lights or anything like that. All right, guys, so there you have it. The proper way to do a pre-trip with a checklist. This is the modernized pre-trip. All right, and before I sign off, I want to mention I appreciate the doctor for giving me a hand. I got the truck doctor with me. Yeah. All right, just a minute. All right, guys, so there you have it. We did another pre-trip video. And by the way, I'm Jerry, the CDL Whisperer. And remember this, what you put into it is what you'll get out of it. God bless.